Zabbix Agent 2 receives a bunch of new features and a bunch of new metrics in Zabbix 6.0 LTS. Let's take a look at those. Let's welcome support engineer from Zabbix, Aigars Kadiķis.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to presentation which talks about a new functionality what is brought by Agent 2 in the Zabbix version 6.0 LTS version. And before we even jump to this topic, let's just recap the basic functionality about Zabbix Agent, why it's invented, what's the role of the tool. So Zabbix Agent, it's a small daemon which collects the monitoring data, and this daemon is available and installable on Windows and any Unix-like system. And this daemon also will bring rich capabilities out from box. Like a lot of things will be possible to capture, like the file system usage, the memory usage, CPU usage. Those are the basic things, but there are much more. And this agent is very flexible in communication-wise. We can pull the metric from the server side. It's called passive checks, and we can also push the metrics from the agent perspective to the server. Those are called active checks. And after all, we have a total control over the update interval of these checks. We can choose, like, I want to collect the data only during the working hours and absolutely skip the data collection during the night. This is possible with Zabbix Agent. And why Agent 2? Why it's not enough with the Agent 1? So Agent 2 is developed on top of Go language, which is a new and modern language which allows us or the world to write less code to accomplish more. So after all, we can really manage to get a new solution to the world with no time. If the world asks, we bring this solution. And also there is some concept with the Agent 2, like usually with the Agent 1 we needed to require some additional files in this file system, but that's not the thing with the Agent 2. We try really to slipstream everything inside the binary. All you need to do is maintain the latest version of Agent 2, and it will always, or on every minor release, it will come with the better ways, much more ways how to monitor some different applications. And also Agent 2 solves some existing known problems with the Agent 1, and let's talk about that, like why, what are these improvements with the Agent 2. And one is like check concurrency for the active checks. And like persistent data storage, that's a huge one. We can totally have a database on the local file system. If we lose the network connectivity, then Agent 2 will store the collected data in a local database inside your Linux system or inside your Windows system. Reduce the number of TCP connections, that's always a good thing. HTTP website check, that's quite my favorite. Like we have some use cases where we want to monitor what is the connection from the laptop, make sure that one important person can reach the website. So it's possible with Agent 2 and completely not possible with Agent 1. Multiple parallel log file readings, nice improvement. We can now read the log files in a concurrent way. And out from box monitoring for the different applications. And let's talk about these applications. Website check. This was requested quite some long to have some out from the box solution to monitor the certificate, like when it will expire. And so this item key will bring us a context, like what is the issuer? Is this a self-signed certificate, or what is the certificate authority? So that's one useful thing, but most important, we can track the days when the certificate will expire, and yeah, that's good. And Here we can use either the DNS name or IP address together with the port number, so we can fetch and see what is the current status. Another thing, MQTT monitoring, or so-called Internet of Things. We all can have like a big house, and this house is having a lot of smart devices like a microwave or a fridge, and they can talk to each other. They can tell the status, what is the situation, and we can monitor them with the Zabbix Agent too. And it's called like listening on the topic, and so the Agent 2 listens on this your smart device on your home, and if the device talks, we get the message. On this slide, I want to also like remind ourselves like the greatest and latest possibilities that the Agent 2 is officially supported on a single board computer like Raspberry Pi, and also in the same time on the Raspberry Pi 4 we can run Docker containers through the Ubuntu ARM64, and we offer a lot of Docker containers out from the box, and also Agent 2. That's the most important part through this presentation. Out from box monitoring for the most popular databases, and as I try to advertise, the goal is just to distribute one binary. So Agent 2 runs on one system, and then either we can choose to monitor the local system, or we can use this agent to reach out a remote system, or even we can use one Agent 2 to monitor multiple remote systems from the same database flavor. Systemd monitoring out from box, it was invented kind of 2 years ago, but no official template was released. But now this summer there is official template, and this is like a real masterpiece. It offers like everything we fancy about. Every data point can be like observed about the systemd services, and here are my favorite examples, what kind of triggers you can actually create. And for example, if service is scheduled at the system boot up and not running right now, then send a message. And another useful example can be if service is not scheduled at the system startup but it's running right now, maybe we just installed that 5 minutes ago and forgot to enable that at the startup. So these triggers can be very easily now created with the systemd monitoring, which is supported by Agent 2 only. Docker monitoring out from the box. So Zabbix Agent will discover all Docker containers. You can choose discover everything or choose to discover only the running containers. And then per each container, it will tell CPU, memory, network. And now we can kind of notice like which container consumes the most system resources. And yeah, it's nice to have this out from the box. Additional applications like Ceph, a storage block kind of solution, so we can monitor that. Memcached, if we are caching a lot of memory, like caching a lot of objects inside the memory. And Smart, for example, like for the disks, SSD drives or some other disks, which is clever enough to tell the health about themselves, like when they plan to die. What is the temperature sensors in different positions. So that will be covered out of the box by Discovery. It will discover all those sensors and give the stats about them. Okay, plugin system for Agent 2, that's quite a huge thing. It's already a plugin based system. We have internal plugins, but now we offer also to have external plugins. And so here is a diagram how internal plugin system works, or it's the same approach for the external plugins. So Agent boots up, and there will be a one directory which will be scanned by the Agent 2, and it will determine supported interfaces per the module. And then if there is a configurator interface, then it will execute that, and after all, it will like register all plugins one by one and like make sure they are not conflicting to each other, and so the agent will have extended functionality. And now like the loop starts. There is a point metric must be gathered, so agent 2 waits for the user to ask some data, and when the data is asked, like the item key is requested, we will like check if the plugin is really activated, and if the plugin is not activated, then immediately we will check do some tiny follow-up and make sure, not make sure, but we'll look if the runner interface is supported, and if it's supported, then start that runner interface, and in the same time we will check if the configurator interface is there, and if it's there, then run the configuration of plugin. And then if the plugin is activated, we collect the metric by the exporter interface, and the user gets the metric. And next time the metric is asked, the plugin is activated already, and you may ask, like, is there any situation when plugin is deactivated? And the answer is yes. If we don't ask item key for 24 hours, the plugin is automatically unloaded from memory and completely deactivated. It's still registered inside the agent 2, like agent 2 knows like what to do when user requests an item key. It knows, and it can activate it again. All right, and some summary of this loadable plugin architecture. So external plugins are loadable on the agent 2 start, and we don't need to recompile the binary. We have this directory, we plot those plugin files there, and it will scan on the boot up. So it connects bidirectionally on the Linux system by using Linux socket, and on the Windows system using named pipes. Backwards compatibility with the older plugins. The thing about activating and deactivating, so we have if we don't use the solution, then we don't load the plugin inside the memory. That's very great to have. Architecture remains the same as it was for internal plugins. Nothing has really changed, but now we really scan this external directory, and therefore we can really touch and pick up some extra file from the file system. And the future goal would be, future vision is to have a very separate repository to have and to host these external plugins for the agent 2. Maybe there will be some plugins which is very kind of huge in terms of how they are designed. So inside this repository there will be plugins. We can install them using package management, and then register inside this agent and use it. Okay. So this agent 2 is very awesome. Let's have a little bit summary what is where it's available, and it's not really available on every system, but here are the system names where it's available: CentOS 6 and up, /15, Debian 9 and up, Raspberry Pi, Windows 7 or Windows Server 2008. And up. There is agent 2 available, and it really relies on the Go language. If you want to play and get the agent on other systems, the first rule is get this Go language in place, and then we need to have this OpenSSL package to have the secure connections, and then if those prerequisites has been solved, we can try to compile agent 2. All right, and the last chapter is new agent keys in general, and this applies on both, on agent 1 and agent 2 in both agents. So what's new? There comes a new agent key which is called agent.host metadata, which will fetch again the live metadata, and therefore we can kind of now create a very dynamic template. If the template will get some indication from the metadata, it will like create some items through the low-level discovery. So this is manageable. And also next key, agent.variant, just an extra way to see what's the version of the agent, agent 1 or agent 2. Going further, file properties, we have a dedicated key to just read the permissions on the file. On the Linux, it reports like 4-digit string. Reading file owner, what is the owner? Reading file information, like it's very similar like the stat command on the Linux. We can see all the characteristics, modify time, and some other user and permission stuff using file get or directory get. Checksum. Checksum was supported for a long time, but now it offers also MD5 checksum and SHA-256. And file size, measure the bytes, and also a quite interesting thing, how many lines are in the file. Maybe you really care about lines, so we have now a dedicated key to do this task. Here is one example how this file system directory key, dir.get key works on the Windows system. And what I want to highlight here, the dir key will report an array. And here on screen, currently we are seeing only one element from the array, but if we ask what is the content of directory and if there is some subdirectories or files inside, then everything will be reported in one fetch, in one bulk request. It will gather all the data what is inside this directory. And here is the detailed example about file.get on the Linux system. As I mentioned, it's very similar as a stat command, and all these characteristics can be delivered to the Zabbix database. And the last thing about a little bit extending functionality of the discovery keys, we add +1 dimension, which is a file system label. If you name your drives in a very specific naming manner, then we can discover this entity also and create some rules like please monitor this system only if the name is such. All right, that is it for this presentation. Thank you for being with me today, and thank you.
So some great exciting features for the agent await us, and we have a couple of questions. First off, from maybe people that haven't used Agent 2 too much, one of the things they're worried about is, can we run both agents at the same time, C agent and Go agent?
Absolutely, yes. There is a minor adjustment in one of the agent. All we need to do is adjust port 150. Just choose which one you want to adjust, and then you are ready to run both agents simultaneously. That's one option, but there is other option. You can totally turn down the passive checks, and then you can just run by default with the default configuration. Both agents are serving at one machine, and it just works.
So the main idea is that they don't conflict and use the same port.
Absolutely.
So that is true, you can use them both. Thank you. Next up, can I use Zabbix Agent if I don't have administrative privileges?
Nice question, and we have some customers, and it's quite funny to read those tickets. Like they don't have administration privileges like at all, but they have like delegated a task to track the log. Like they have access to the log, but that's the main job all day long. Look on the log, and that's not convenient. And they can really download a standalone binary, plot like the configuration file, adjust the configuration file. Maybe purchase some private appliance in the cloud, and then just kickstart this tiny agent which tracks the log file, adjust what you need, and then your like private appliance will give you the information about what kind of errors you are looking inside the log, and you will be like right on like really on a thing like get a notification in time.
Next up. That's a common one. Is there any use cases where C agent is better than the Go agent?
I would say yes. The footprint, like at least the binary size of C agent is at least 5 times less. And my answer would be if you either collect the basic stuff, CPU memory, network utilization, like you don't really look forward to extend the functionality, that would be one case when C agent kind of is better and shines, and another use case would be absolutely in different direction when you have really clearly in mind like 5 or 10 metrics at the maximum you want to collect. All are custom ones. You want to take the full responsibility what exactly you collect and how. Then I would suggest to stick with the C agent. Like you really care about 5 metrics only, then let's use C agent.
I also think there are some compatibility issues with, I think it was AIX maybe, or Solaris, correct me if I'm wrong, for the Go agent. At least there were historically where you couldn't really compile it, if I'm not mistaken.
It's based on Go language, and while the operating system supports Go language, then we can compile, and if it's not available, then we cannot compile, and that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thank you a lot. It was a real pleasure, and hopefully people look forward to these new agent features. Thank you.
Yes.